Everybody, it's Tiqqle, and in today's video, we're going to go over a little bit of sad news for Elemental Shaman everywhere. Earth and Fury's gone. It's gone. Okay? The patch 8.1's coming out tomorrow, and by the time you see this, it probably already will be out, but we're going to go through very quickly what the changes are, with some last-minute changes not even happening up until just on Monday before the patch. So we'll get to that. It has to do with the PvP stuff, so we'll get to that. So now, going through the Shaman changes just very quickly, a lot of these I've already gone through in my videos and testing on the PTR, but if we just look, kind of go through these pretty quickly. There's a new Azurite trait coming out having to do with your Ankh ability. Whenever your Ankh is off cooldown, your maximum health gets increased, and it cools down faster. Now that's not, to me, in a PvP sense, not really a big deal, but it is what it is. Next is Tectonic Thunder. Earthquake deals a certain amount of damage, 600 damage instantly. I'm sure this is going to be scaling with Azurite power trait, eye level, etc. And has a 25% chance to make your next chain lightning be instant, which is probably going to be great for Mythic Pluses. For PvP, not so much. Sprouting Spirits, healing reduced by 15% and increases Spirit Link radius by 15%. The new Enhanced one, which is Storm Strike damage, deals an additional amount of damage and has a 15% chance to summon a totem, doubling the chance for Wind Fury, which is actually pretty cool for Enhance. A little bit more fresh talent than the ones they've been using, which have just been increasing different damaging abilities. This should be pretty cool to have a totem. Turn of the Tide. Bonuses of tidal waves are increased by 5%. Spells affected by it heal for an additional amount, and that's a flat number, which will again scale, which is actually a pretty big deal. These are usually the traits that are pretty powerful. Going into Elemental, there's going to be a new talent on the second row that's going to be replacing, and there's going to be some shuffling around, but basically your maximum Maelstrom increased by 30, meaning you can get up to 180 in PvP and 130 in PvE. And the Maelstrom cost of Earthshock and Earthquake reduced by 10. Now that makes Earthshock 50, which is pretty good when you think of the current meta of stacking Earthshocks, but that's probably going to be changing, and you'll see why next. Earthshock damage is being decreased by 16%. This has to do with Blizzard's attempt to take damage away from Earthshock and put it into other abilities. Earthquake is having its range increase, not a big deal. Elemental Blast overloads with a separate secondary buff that you could get. So when you Elemental Blast, this hasn't been a talent that people have been going recently, but maybe in this patch that it will be. You cast Elemental Blast, and the second, if it overloads, which is Elemental Shaman's Mastery, it can give you a second stat buff. Elemental Blast, increasing the stats when you use it. Now, Flame Shock increased duration to 24 seconds. This is actually a big deal because Earthshock has a 6-second cooldown, meaning previously we could only maximize that 3 out. Now we can get 4, meaning more Lava Burst procs, which means Lava Burst is going to be more in the rotation, which is good. Now, Ice Fury is actually getting a big buff, especially from PvP side. The value of this has gone way through the roof. Now generates 25 Maelstrom, overloads at 12 Maelstrom, which is a total of 37 Maelstrom when you cast it if it overloads. Now causing your next Frost Shocks to be doing 200% damage instead of 100. This gets between 20 to 30k hits. It's actually ridiculous. We'll have to see how it works out in 8.1, but I will probably be going this for consistent damage, as Buckeye you point out. And then the other talent, which is Surge of Power, for maybe more burst. It seems more RNG. Next, Master of the Elements now buffs physical spell, and it's also on a different talent tier, which is a big thing to call out. We will be speccing into that Master of the Element pretty consistently, I would assume. Lightning Bolt damage increased by 40. Now, yep, it's the offset of the Earthshock to Lightning Bolt. They want us to Lightning Bolt, guys, and it's okay. We're the only class that has lightning damage. Lightning damage is nature damage, but still, they're kind of pushing us into that area. Now, Stormkeeper is actually a pretty big buff. It increases the damage of your next Lightning Bolt by 150%. You get 2 of these, and it's going to synergize with your newest and most exciting change for Ellie, which is Surge of Power. Earthshock enhances your next spell. Flame Shock, decreasing the cooldown of Flame Ellie. Lightning Bolt, which is going to do an additional 1 to 3 overloads, which is actually almost the highest burst I've ever seen. Seeing as I did within maybe 3 instant casts, I did pretty much 160k burst. Sorry, don't tell Blizzard. And then Frost Shock. Frost Shock's going to be able to allow us to root people. So you Earth Shock and you use one of these abilities. It's going to be a great way to freshen up the playstyle for Ellie. I'm super pumped about that. Enhance is getting all of its damage increased by 5%, which is Pretty nice. Boulder Fist is going increased damage from to 35%, was 20, and this affects your Rock Biter. Now this could synergize well with Strength of Earth or some other abilities, but this is buffing that up. Second, I'm gonna skip down because this is in the order of the talents. The other one that synergizes very well with this, that other buff to Boulder Fist, is Landslide has a 40% chance instead of a 20% chance. I tried this on PTR. It's actually insane. This procs so much. On live servers, 20% was very, very rare. Now at 40%, it's actually crazy. Every other hit, I mean, like 40% of your hits, is procking this. And if it procs your next Storm Strike to be 20% damage, and then you get your normal proc for an instant cast, a no-cost Storm Strike, it actually chunks. We're talking 30 to 50k damage. It's actually crazy. So that's great. Lightning Shield gets a nerf. There's no longer generating Maelstrom, which is basically going to make people not select this one anymore. Now let's go to some other kind of not so best news. The Force of Winds damage per stack reduced to 80%, was 100. This is kind of, it's not that big of a deal. That should be counterweighted by the Azurite trait, which we can go into as well. Now, Crashing Storms and Fury of Air both getting a 40% damage increase, basically because no one was going them, especially in PvP. And PvE, I'm sure this is going to help the cleave ability of an Enhanced Shaman. Gotta remember, though, 40% of a low number is still a low number. So I was testing this out on the PTR, and I still wasn't very impressed for PvP, but we'll have to see how it works out. Next, Overcharge. Overcharge reducing the cooldown to 9 seconds from 12, maybe making it something I actually pick, because usually I don't actually go this ability, but it could do more damage, especially with the changes to the PvP traits, which you guys probably already know about. Now, Totem Mastery is increasing the damage of Storm Strike from 5 to 10%, which is actually pretty good, but I don't think it's going to possibly compete with Landslide. Landslide is going to be insane. It's actually insane. Please try it immediately. For Resto, as you guys know, I'm not the best healer, but let's just go through these quickly. Chain Heal increased by 33%, probably a push to actually press a button other than Riptide. High, especially for PvP. I mean, now PvP, obviously, people don't usually Chain Heal in PvP, but who knows? That could be actually a pretty big scaling buff. So, High Tide redesigned. Every 40k mana you spend brings a High Tide, making your next 2 Chain Heals heal for an additional 20%, but do not reduce with each jump, which is actually pretty nice for PvE. Resto Shaman, that makes me pretty excited. Seeing as maybe I could heal Mythics, because I always have a bunch of PvP Ellie boys that want to go into Mythics, and I can never fit my Ellie in there. So this might be something good if I wanted to try that out. It looks like they're buffing the heal on Unleash Life, but less decreasing the buff that it gives you for the next cast. So making it a little bit more useful of an instant cast versus what's coming next after that. And that might have to do with Chain Heal getting that significant buff. I see this mostly as a PvE buff, but you guys let me know in the comments before. You guys are the Resto boys. Now guys, the rest of the changes here it's all on Wowhead. I'll give the link down below. There's actually a lot of changes coming. I would definitely recommend taking a peek at this site. Great site for this type of content and getting all of the changes kind of aggregated in one view. I would say they definitely are simplifying some of what happened on the PTR, but maybe that's for the best. If you want to know more, there are definitely videos that I have on my channel that relate to the changes as they progressed on the PTR. If you want to know how we landed here, check those out. Now, it does look like the one thing I do want to call out here is that for PvP, rated arenas and battlegrounds now grant an additional 50% conquest for all rewards up to week 9. Basically what this is speeding up the catch-up mechanic, which I very much appreciate for alts. Alts have had kind of a tough time in BFA, and I think this is going to help along with some other changes to your Azurite neck piece, which is going to basically be shared across your characters when you do certain quests. So that's going to be pretty nice, and I definitely recommend looking into those PvE changes. Now into the PvP side. Let's start with Ellie, guys. Ellie, number 1, they removed Earth Fury, which is actually sad because it is something that was very unique to Elemental Shaman. I called it for being removed from the game into BFA, but they didn't do that. They did it afterwards, which actually makes me worried that I'm predicting the future. So the reason, and why did I predict that this was going to be removed? Well, this was defined as being a 2-second stun that was not shared on DR. What you could just do it forever, and if you just kept doing it, you would stun, and you would just forever get 2-second stuns. Unlike every other stun in the game, which goes on diminishing returns, meaning that if I stun you for 2 seconds, if I stun you again, it's gonna be half of that, and it's gonna keep getting cut down in half. So it's a little, it was overpowered, kind of, but it was unique, and I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna put it in the same grave as Gust of Wind, a unique ability that is now lost to WoW forever. Good news is Lightning Lasso is no longer dispellable, which is insane, and the damage has stayed the same. I thought they were going to adjust this. I don't mean fix, I mean adjust. Right now, it's a 6-second cast that you can do while moving, while in Ghost Wolf. Technically, that means while you're healing. And it will drain the target's health for 48% of its health over 6 seconds. And now they've made it no longer dispellable. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, you know, shout out to Piff, yeah, and Mac, yeah, you're right, guys. So why is this so good? Well, this means that if you start your Lightning Lasso cast from, 20 yards away and you line of sight, they can't really do anything. They need to be either interrupting you or stunning your channel or anything like that to stop this stun. They cannot dispel the target which you're stunning, which is going to be very scary for a lot of different classes that don't have interrupts to be able to stop this thing. So I'm glad that this happened. I'm not so happy that Earth Fury is out, but what it does do is it means that we're pretty much gonna go Lightning Lasso in PvP every time, because it's a ranged kidney shot I can do while moving, and it actually sucks all the health from the target. You're basically stunning and then bursting into them just by channeling this ability. So you'll be able to use this and then line of sight so you can't get interrupted. The way that enemies will be able to stop this is if they kick you, if they stun you, if they CC you, if they do anything to break that channeling ability, which may even mean damaging. So just be on the lookout for those conditions when you're using this, but it's gonna be pretty sick. Next, going to Enhance. Enhance had a lot of changes that aren't actually listed in the first link that I shared. Specifically, Static Cling is also hitting the Shaman Graveyard. It's no longer in existence in 8.1. This was an ability where you would Storm Strike the target twice. It would increase your movement speed, and it would also increase the damage you did to that target. Pretty super strong, especially if you're using Sunder when you have that buff up. So they're getting rid of that. They're getting rid of Riding Lightning. They're getting rid of Fork Lightning. That's actually quite a bit, right? But actually, they're redoing Ride the Lightning. They're making it so Fork Lightning and Ride the Lightning are together. If two or more targets, if more than 2 enemies are within 8 yards, when you cast Storm Strike, you also cast a Chain Lightning, meaning you cleave around you. If no one's near you, if there aren't 2 enemies close by, it'll hit the 2 farthest enemies, basically meaning they're combining these so they don't both happen, either one or the other based on the condition, which is a smart thing to do, kind of. You'd think it'd be less damage, but because of all the other scaling they're doing everywhere else, it actually isn't based on my testing on the PTR, which is great news, because I thought this would be a significant decrease of damage. So shout out to Blizzard for not gimping us there. Now that's about it for Enhance. Next is Resto. Resto has pretty simple talent changes here. Chain Heal increased by 50% in PvP. It looks like they want Shaman to finally cast, but this could bring a change to the meta. It's not really clear. So Rippling Waters was removed, which is a very big deal. Riptide, it gave it another charge, and Riptide's heals for X amount of healing. When the spell duration ends, it is refreshed on the target, or it's dispelled. Basically meaning when you spam the shit out of it, it was healing for a lot. It's out of the game. Now, they're basically incentivizing casting by increasing all the other healing abilities to compensate, meaning that Healing Wave, Healing Surge, Chain Heal, they've all gotten buffed. And guys, that's about it. Now, for the other changes that are going on, I definitely recommend checking out the Wowhead post here. It summarizes it pretty well. There are things about, okay, well, what's happening with the faction assaults? What's happening with Allen Expeditions? I heard we're going to be able to get more predictable mounts and pets and rewards from that. There's going to be an Azurite vendor that's going to be coming from you doing your Mythic Pluses, which is a great shout out to the people that have been asking for that. Not just the RNG. We're not playing Black Desert after all. And there's also going to be some new Azurite traits coming out of the Dark Shore whole scenarios and quests out there. So definitely check this site out, check out what's coming out, and start enjoying it. I think this is gonna be a great time to kind of re-excite the public about WoW. But guys, this was kind of my quick recap on this stuff. There's a lot of stuff changing. It's a lot. This is a huge patch, new raid, new everything coming out. The PvP season will not be ending till January, but it's a great time to kind of reinvent your character, especially with the amount of changes that are coming, especially to Shaman, especially to Esprit, especially to a lot of different classes. Let's get hyped about that, guys, and we will see you in the next stream, in the next video. Thank you for tuning in, guys. All the love has been insane. I want to thank everybody, especially around the holidays, so thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. See you on the stream, guys. Catch you later.